Hey YouTube, another installment of Dave Medic 1 channel here. I'm going to go over and kind of do a review on some of the gear I have in my shop and what I use to kind of tinker around in my beginning stages of making and modifying knives and whatnot. So let's get started. Actually, just an update. I have acquired a couple knives lately. Got ourselves the Spyderco Resilience. I also picked up Tenacious, which is probably everybody's first Spyderco, and I strongly recommend this if you're gonna if you don't have a Spyderco and you're kind of wanting to figure out whether they're worth the money and you're kind of hesitant. Tenacious is a great knife to start off with. Reasonably priced, pretty good size, but once you buy this knife, you'll be hooked. I mean, I actually started with the Ambitious and then ended up coming back and ordering these two here, and I really like them. They're really nice, and you know I could see why people pick up Spydercos and purchase them and spend all the big dollars. But yeah, these are my first low budget Spydercos along with the Ambitious, and I'm just saving my pennies now, like everybody else, to maybe upgrade to the Manix 2 or maybe the paramilitary or whatnot, funds allow it. Also, I've kind of have this in other videos that I've already posted up, but this is my Boker Plus S2, probably my favorite out of all the knives I've purchased recently. Got it for about $55 shipped, and I'm in love with it. It's really, the blade design's pretty cool. And ergonomics are awesome. I mean, it's a fairly large knife. It's a little bit smaller than the Resilience, but yeah. And finally, I picked up this little CRK necker also, which is cool. I tried wearing a neck knife and it kind of bugs me a little bit, so I don't really EDC this at all. So anyway, what I'm getting to today, first thing, any aspiring knife maker, or if you just have knives and you want to sharpen them and maintain them and maybe possibly modify them in the future, would probably be your first investment would be probably like a smaller knife sharpening kit. But after a while, you'll end up graduating into probably a belt sander, and in a lot of guys, most of the guys you see on YouTube that you probably follow, Gavco and all those guys, start with this table or table or bench sander. Here it is the Harbor Freight 1x30 belt sander with a 5-inch disc. Now they do have the one that doesn't have the 5-inch disc on the side, which is a little less expensive. To tell you the truth, you don't really need a disc on the side, but it may be handy if you were doing like G10 handles and you could set the angle a little bit and kind of maybe do the bevel and make life easier that way. But it's $70, Harbor Freight. And they're pretty cool. I love mine to death. I actually got lucky and bought mine from someone off Craigslist for the total of $11. I scored. I don't know how old it was when I purchased mine, but it's been running hard and I haven't had an issue with it yet. So, let's see here. In my shop, I just have this little small table in the corner, and there she sits. On this guy right here. Right now I have a 1x30 Sergi Sharp leather strop on there, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, I do hand stropping or whatnot, but this is a lifesaver right here. No time at all. Definitely got to go light on it. Can't go crazy and push all hard and heavy because you'll end up rolling your edges, but definitely awesome. I picked mine up for I think about $25 shipped to my house. It's a 1x30. Sergi Sharp is the manufacturer of the leather strop belt, and it's been working. I've had this one for about a month and a half to 2 months, and I put a lot of use into it. But back to the bench grinder. It's got this adjustable platform right here. You can adjust it right here, angle it whichever way you need. It's got two dust ports. One that's located right back here for this. So if you have a vacuum with I think an 1.5 inch or 2-inch hose that'll fit in there, but if you don't, you could probably rig something to that. I don't have an issue with too much dust as far as grinding goes. I do wear a dust mask as far as grinding shapes and blade shapes or whatnot. But yeah, vacuum. My shop setup, if I hook up this the bench grinder here, or the bench sander, with a vacuum running there, it's just too many amps, and I end up tripping it because I got one circuit running through here, and I got like 6 outlets through there, so I don't end up tripping it and have to run all the way in the house and reset the box. I just don't run a vacuum in here, but I do have a respirator, which is strongly advised, especially when you start to grind shapes and whatnot. Dust mask, dude. Eye protection, dude. Definitely don't sit there. I mean, if you're sharpening knives, oh, whatever, man. Just at your own risk, I guess. But I always wear eye protection. But yeah, the belts, 1x30 belts are readily available. Harbor Freight, I believe, has 80 grit, 240. Let me see here, 80 grit and 120 grit, which that'll help you get a shape as far as on your knives. As far as sharpening goes, on the 120, it's pretty darn aggressive. So if you're going to use a 120 to sharpen anything, you got to be quick with it. Definitely, you see here, I got water to decide to cool the blades. Definitely, that way you don't burn up the blade, mess the temper up, because you'll end up just chipping the crap out of your knives as you go to use them. Definitely watch your heat as far as that goes. But it's back to this, changing the belts out on this. A lot of guys, they just end up, this cover plate right here, they just get rid of it, and they just leave it open, which I can understand as far as you're going through. If you're going through shaping blades, doing your convex grinds and this and that, and you're swapping belts, it's a lot easier just to throw it off or whatever. It does have a blade or a belt adjustment back here, so you could center the belt here. But $69, this guy right here is well worth the money. Even to help you once you get into a sharpening, you have to realize that when you're sharpening with this, you can't go crazy. You got to go light, or else you'll burn up the blade. You'll take too much metal off. You'll sit there and you end up chasing back and forth, both sides of the blade to get the angle. And actually keeping an angle is a little bit more challenging with that also. So $69, it's not a bad deal for this, and it comes with the 5-inch disc on the side right here. And it's a workhorse. You can get the one without the disc, not a big deal. Another thing too that I recommend also is Harbor Freight has got this little grinder deal right here, and it comes with a little wand. So a lot of guys, they do their G10 with a Dremel. Well, this is what I use. It's wired straight up in there. It's all convenient. It does have a grinding wheel here, but to tell you the truth, access to this grinding wheel is kind of limited, so unless you're doing really small stuff, it really doesn't serve too much of a purpose. But what does serve a purpose is it comes with these polishing wheel on this side. It's mildly abrasive, and I use this a lot as far as to get it'll put a satin finish on your blades. Not a mirror polish, a satin finish. So if you hit it up with this guy, and then you have the stropping belt over here, the stropping belt will put a mirror polish. So between these two, it's kind of handy. This guy right here will help you. I use it for I do traditional Northwestern Indian carving, and I use this. Works out really good. I also use it for you can do your G10 handles. You can really it's like a Dremel. So anything a Dremel can do, this can do. The attachments at Harbor Freight, they do got them for cheap. The Dremel stuff is a little bit more quality. They'll last longer. So as far as the unit goes, unit at Harbor Freight, I believe this was like $40. It may be cheaper. But yeah, not bad. These two guys right here, not too bad to start off with. Now I don't have the only thing one of the things my shop is lacking is actually a porta band to actually cut the metal. So what I've been doing, I haven't really gotten into to actually shaping too much here as far as metal goes, but I'm just going the water jet route, just sending my designs there, having water jet coming out, taking them home, finishing off here. I'm still trying to find someone to do my heat treat. So that's the point I'm at right now. But yeah, these two right there. You can walk into Harbor Freight, and I think you can walk out of there for about $70 and obtain your, your 1x30 belt sander and this grinder with a Dremel, and that's a pretty good start. I mean, that's what I did as far as that goes. So I mean, it works out really good. I haven't had an issue with it. Like I said, I bought this used from somebody in Craigslist for $11, man. I pretty much stole it, and that was about 6 months ago, and I use this like crazy. I reprofile blades all the time. I favor the convex grind. Thanks, Gavco. I favor that a lot, so I convert a lot of my blades to that. Sometimes you get blades or you get knives, and the factory sharpness is just garbage, or the edge is just, it's too fine of an edge where it's super sharp, but you're going to end up rolling it, and you can just convex it and kind of fix it yourself. That's handy. G10 handles, like I said, it's awesome. I mean, I could even show you this right here is a trinket carving of a killer whale, and it was all completely done with the Dremel attachment of that, and it's pretty intricate here. This was a pain in the butt to do. Not carving it out, but drawing and getting it 100% on point. If any of you guys are familiar with Northwestern Tribal Trinket Haida, there's rules that you have to follow in order for it to look authentic. My wife's Trinket, so that's why I've grown a liking to their artwork and whatnot. So yeah, this really helped me as far as getting the details in there and all the little attachments, so you can do fine work like that. So and this is made out of a composite decking, actually. Trex is what they call it. It's like a plastic, and it's a plastic, so if it heats up, you burn right into it real quick, so you have to have a very light hand when carving with this, and this has no problem doing it. So just an example of that. Oh, excuse me. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you guys a rundown of some of the stuff I have in my shop. I can actually, if you give me a second, right here, this is a box I use all my sharpening stuff, and I might as well just get into it and show you that too. Might as well go ahead and cover everything. Don't get dizzy with the video here. Okay, folks, here we go. I fashioned myself a little box here to keep all my sharpening stuff, and these are mats. I'll tell you what the use for those are here in a minute. In this box, I have 400 and 600 grit sandpaper. I have this Smith's sharpening kit that I purchased from Home Depot for way too much money. After I bought it, I figured out I could have got it for at least $15 cheaper on Amazon, but it was kind of an impulse buy. I should have did a little bit more research. And this guy, it has your coarse diamond and your fine diamond. It's got a serrated sharpening block also. It pretty much works like a lot of your other sharpening kits, where this rod screws in right here. You have this guide right here, snaps into place like so. You have it's 25 degrees and 20 degrees depending on the angle of the edge that you have on your knife. You clamp it in here. This rod goes into the desired slot depending on what degree is needed, and then this gets screwed onto here, and then your blade gets clamped here, and you could run it back and forth to sharpen it, and it kind of makes it dummy proof, which I didn't mind. I mean, especially when I didn't have as much confidence as far as freestyle sharpening. So on top of that, and the sandpaper, I can sharpen anything that I need to. We'll also recommend, I have strops like crazy. I've got double-sided strops. white compound, black compound, green fine compound, along with red, which has no abrasives in there. It's just merely a polish. Ideal when you go to sharpen knives. You know, definitely your strop is the final touch there. I also have this, like I said, three-sided sharpening stone here. I don't use this. I use this for chisels and whatnot, and I really don't use it for knife sharpening all that much anymore, just because I found another technique that seems to work better for me. And what the technique I use is, I found the information from Gavco. If you guys follow knives, you know who Gavco is, with the sandpaper technique. Once I got the angles down, it is my go-to sharpening technique. I will run. What I do, if I have blades that have designated angles, then I'll go through this. And what I do is, if the blade is just completely dull, can't even cut, you know, like, I mean, you can't even slice cardboard leaning into, you know, it's just totally bad. You would start with, I start with the yellow, you know, probably run, you know, 10 passes on each side. I go 10, 10, 8, 8, 6, 6, 4, 4, and then what I do is I run there and I run through the same numbers back and forth on the left or right hand side of the blade. And then what I do, which I kind of, is I take the 400 grit sandpaper, and I have little squares. And what I do is I take these little squares and actually wrap it around these blocks attached to this, so I have the same angle, so I don't, you know, dummy proof it. And I wrap that around there, and I actually have that on the stone. And the cool thing with that is these little cutouts in your diamond stone, actually, as you grind through, will make little pockets where it'll take away the desired, you know, it'll help hone the edge better because it's a little grippier right there. So I'd go, if it's really bad, I'd go from the yellow to the orange, run to the 400 grit, then 600 grit. But usually, if you're just touching up a knife, hopefully all you need is just a strops, or, like I said, you got a strop. If you got a belt with a leather strop on there, then you're golden. You can just touch up blades and rehone them, no problem. But you know, just go through. Like I said, well, usually just the orange. Run through, like I said, 12 on each side, 8 on each side, 6 on each side, you know. And then when you get to the sandpaper, you go, you know, 8 on each side, 8 passes on each side, and then go through the 400, then the 600, and then you run through your strops. I go from black, white to green, and then polish. If it's, you know, if it's a satin finish, I don't really worry about it, but. But usually I just run right after the sandpaper. I run to the belt, and that handles the business. I mean, you're talking about slicing through, like another YouTuber said, you can cut through farts. It's just that sharp. Now, like I said, I was going to tell you guys what this mats I have over here are for. Now, if you watch Gavco's sharpening videos, he mentions that he puts like paper towel. I think, I'm not exactly sure I think it's paper towel, but what he does is he puts a soft kind of something that kind of lets the sandpaper or whatever have like a soft cushion underneath it, and it helps get when you're doing convex, it helps really get up on the blade. He's explained this way better than I could, you know. But what I did is I have these rubber mats. Now these rubber mats, you know, if I squish them, they have little to no give on them, and but it's soft enough when you lean to it, it'll give a little bit. So what I do is when I'm hand sharpening, is I go ahead, and usually this is just for touch-ups, I run through the 400. I'll have the 400 right here, and run my blades, bam, and then bam, on this. And you see it's got lines in there, which serve the same purpose as what I said, having the sandpaper and